GG.
That's my friend! And you're found you!
Hola. Let's do this again, day 2. Okay. A little recap of my OPGG. I played 5 games yesterday. I won 3, I lost 2. The record never really is, like, it's not gonna matter, basically. The important part is that I actually put in games that are like decently focused. And also, as you can see, I didn't know the MMR can actually be this high. Like, look at this LP gain and loss. How crazy is it? I need to lose 3 games to lose the LP of 1 win. That's actually crazy. I mean, if you look at the like average player elo, basically it's like platinum 1, basically platinum 1 MMR. I think it's kind of crazy, no? I get that the system tries to put you where you belong fast, but it's like super fast to go up. It takes like a year to go down. I feel like they should have the same LP loss. Unironically, I feel like people there should be a 40 LP loss as well if you lose. That's how chess.com ranks people. Like at the start, you lose like 100 LP and you gain 100 LP type of a deal. So they kind of calibrate you extremely quickly. But in League, it's like positively skewed. And it gives people a very bad idea. Like if you start a new account or you start ranked new and you get put into platinum, but you're actually a bronze player, you could accidentally end up in platinum if you just have like a 7 games win streak. You know, you get carried in 7 games, it can happen. And then you think you're a platinum player, you go into your games and you're just gonna pretty much int until you go back to bronze and then you're completely depressed. So I don't like this, but it is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. What I want to talk about today is the brain muscle. I don't know why I'm talking this weirdly. Okay, I'm like low-key excited to get into a game, but yeah, anyways. Let's talk about the brain muscle in the context of League of Legends, at least. You know, we know it takes a lot of repetition and all of this stuff, but muscle growth, you know, the muscle growth is stimulated by training to failure and forcing the tissue to adapt to a new level of pressure, basically, right? And for the brain, it's similar. It's not the exact same, of course. The brain isn't actually a muscle, but the way the brain adapts, it's pretty similar. If it's put under pressure or there's a lot of repetition, the brain will get used to this kind of pressure and repetition and learn in a different, you know, in a negative kind of view. If you endure a lot of pain from inting teammates, griefing teammates, AFK teammates, and you endure that while being focused on the objective that you're trying to learn, your brain will adapt and you will be able to learn the objective while still dealing with these inters and stuff. Because there's no way you can have a 100% win rate in League. The highest percent I think that we know is like 80% in Challenger, and that is complete RNG, you know? Just because, like, if you're a Challenger, let's say you're a Challenger player, 2000 LP, you know? We take Agurin, for example. If he would do a unrated Challenger run, he would most likely get 70% win rate, right? And if he gets super lucky, he would get an 80% win rate. I saw someone get an 80% win rate before, but that is just pure RNG. It has nothing to do that the person with 80% is better than the person with 70%. At the end of the day, whatever rank you're at, that's where you're at, okay? And that's your skill compared to everybody else. So even if you had a 100% win rate till Challenger, you wouldn't be better than the other Challengers, right? Like, you're not going to keep the 100% win rate until 4000 LP or whatever. You're just going to start losing, of course. So in the end, the system makes complete sense, and the learning that we can do around the system with our brain is I think it helps if you understand it. I think one thing that is important is to understand that the brain, the brain doesn't grow in size like a muscle would, but the neural correct connections that you're doing, they will be either strengthened or weakened depending on what you're learning and what you're repeating. The kind of tasks that you're repeating, if you're doing last sits, for 2000 games with intention, then you're going to be better at last sitting. That's just what it is. Also, I'm level 32. I don't know why I didn't update. There we go. That's just what it is with the brain. And yeah, performance, just like your level of performance just comes from whatever you accumulated in terms of skills overall, of course. And then your state of mind, did you get enough sleep? All of this kind of stuff translates into the actual level that you're going to perform in that specific game, because every game is completely different. That's why it's interesting. That's why it can get addicting, of course, because yeah, it's always different. It's always a new puzzle to be solved every game, and that is why it's interesting, in my opinion. It's the repetition of solving these puzzles can result into pattern recognition, which is ultimately what we want. The brain is really good at pattern recognition, like the human brain, and this skill, of course, the same as every other skill, improves with the intentional focus on it. So if you're doing Krugs and you die at Krugs 5 games in a row, there's some problem here. Even though every champion is different, you're probably making a decision that's kind of similar. That is a pattern, right? So you have the pattern of dying at Krugs. We know deaths can be pretty bad. They can be good. If you get 3 grubs, then die for it, get another 3 grubs, die for it, and then always win the game because you can push turrets. That's different, right? So that's a different pattern. But if it's you just go to grubs, the enemy team is waiting for you, and you die, you lose all of your camps, you don't get grubs, that's really bad. That's a really bad pattern. So we want to recognize these patterns, categorize these patterns into good and bad, and then think about how we can eliminate the bad ones or calm down the bad ones and improve the good ones, right? So there's a lot of different types of patterns, but that's just an example. That's just an example for League of Legends, of course. And the more patterns we can recognize, the faster our brain can do that as well. So if we're in game, we have a lot of pattern recognition. It will be very quick and accurate recognition of the situation, and we can make decisions that tend to lead to good outcomes. That's the important part. So maybe this topic is completely boring. I get it. I'm not talking about, oh my god, I'm dominating my opponents, whatever, but I'm talking about what it actually takes, what it's actually about, in my opinion, what I think. We'll see how far it gets me. Okay, maybe it doesn't at all, and I'm just talking out of my booty cheeks, but we'll see. There's also a level of fatigue. You can't play, generally speaking, you're not going to be playing 20 extremely focused games per day. You're just not. League of Legends is extremely taxing. If you actually lock in and you try to focus, it's so difficult. It's actually crazy. And once you understand how difficult, there's this thing with the brain, or with learning any skill, that's you learn something, another problem comes up, you have to overcome the problem. You learn that problem, another problem comes up, and at some point you're gonna hit an insane wall that you don't understand. How can you even overcome it? It's so much. Once you understand the baseline of something, of some skill, you'll see the mountain of skills that you don't know yet, and it's very overwhelming. I think that's what happens to most people in Emerald. It happens to me, at least. The difference between Emerald and Diamond is actually pretty high. Yeah. So that's just that's about the fatigue, and it takes some time to recover. So if you play I only played 5 games yesterday, but I did learn some things. For example, in this last game, he tried to counter pick me with Rammus, Let's look at this. He tried to counter pick me with Rammus, and what I noticed is that like I'm more of a counter pick to Rammus than Rammus is to me. I mean, I clear faster. I also just beat him 1v1 and from basically the start, and if I start to snowball, there's nothing he can do, you know? If I get Black Cleaver, I'm pretty much, I mean, how many of his stats am I denying? I'm like multiplicatively denying, like devaluing the gold that he's spending, right? Because he's only spending on armor and his skill gives him armor. So that is like multiplicative levels of devaluing whatever he's buying. That's just one item. And I have innate healing in my kit, so it's not like I can really realistically kill myself on his spikes. I'll just overheal it, right? And then the later the game goes, every single item that I get is such a big improvement about not dying. They all give like insane amount of HP as well. Not that much AD, so I'm like no attack speed, so I'm not like killing myself very fast. I think Briar might be a pretty good counter actually to Rammus, but I might get proven wrong. It's just a theory that I have, right? Maybe a good Rammus would have destroyed me. I don't know how, because literally at every stage I would be able to fight him, but I'll see. You know, for now, if the enemy picks Rammus and I pick Briar, I'm pretty happy with it, you know? That's just one thing. You have to have theories, and then you have to adjust the theory to reality over a long period of time. And sometimes you can also just win because you have a good feeling, not because it's the correct feeling, right? Like if the enemy plays a little bit scared and you play very confident, you can capitalize on that and maybe snowball. So, and in League of Legends, if you snowball, matchups become very irrelevant or become very, like a lot less relevant at least. Yeah, okay. So that's just how learning is, and the brain really likes to specialize. I mean, everybody tells you play one champion, play two champions. It's just easier, and especially in League, if you think about it very logically and deeply without any BS, how are you supposed to, like, every champion is incredibly, like, they're unique. And you always learn the entire game through the lens of the champion. So if you change your champion or role all the time, I mean, you're not gonna learn. Yeah, straight up. It is not rocket science, okay? The concept is not rocket science. The execution, a little bit more difficult because I love to play different champions as well. Like, I always play different champions in my League journey, but yeah, that's just... This video is already insanely long, so I'll stop here. But that's the brain, the League brain thing. Okay, maybe a little bit boring, but if you watch the whole video, okay, I appreciate it a lot. Hopefully, it helps the concept. Maybe you can apply it or think about League in a different way. And yeah, enjoy. Salute.